ברוכים הבאים לפודקאסט הצילום הישראלי, ה-one stop shop שלכם לכל מה שקשור לצילום. בין אם אתם מקצוענים ותיקים או רק מתחילים עם מצלמת הסמארטפון שלכם, אנחנו כאן כדי לעזור לכם ללכוד את העולם סביבכם באורח חדש לגמרי. אז תפסו את המצלמה שלכם ובואו נתחיל להקליק. פתיח ומתחילים.
3, 2, 1, mic testing. Hello everyone. This is a very special episode. We're doing it in English for a change because I'm having my first international guest finally. So I'm here with Gאורב, my friend, and I'll let him introduce himself and then I'll keep talking.
Hello friends, so it's a pleasure to be on Edo's podcast. Today we're sitting in India's Bandhavgarh National Park where we've been photographing tigers and all other wildlife in central India. So my name is Gaurav Ramnarayanan and I'm a wildlife photographer based in India and also specialize in big cat safaris and photographic tours in India and around the world. So it's been about a few weeks now that I've been with Edo and safari's been quite exciting.
Amazing. Yeah. Perfect. Just a disclaimer. We are just finishing guiding a tour together, almost finished. And Gaurav actually working with a few of Israeli groups. And there is one to come in 2 weeks also. And it's been a blast and I'm blessed. I'm working with a lot of international local guides in many places. And a good guide give me an easier life. Not easy. No, it's never easy, but a little easier life. But it's really a pleasure to work with you. And I'm amazed by your professionality and capabilities and knowledge, really. So tell us how your roman with camera started, actually.
So it goes down to when I was a child. I was about 3 or 4 years old when my father first gave me a camera. So going further back, my grandfather and great-grandfather were hunting. And they're mostly shooting big cats that were man-eaters or cattle lifters back in the day in the early 1940s when hunting was still legal in India. And when the ban came in, they still couldn't stay away from the forest. So the shooting with the gun changed to shooting with the camera. And the same tradition passed on to my dad and from my dad to me. So when I was barely 4 years old, I was given a film camera with which I started photographing random things and wasn't serious. But as time passed, I developed a keen interest and then moved on to using the SLR film cameras first and then to digital and then now with the latest technology. But it's been a slow learning process starting from the film cameras. So that really helped me have a good fundamental base about, how technology evolved and all the basics with photography.
Yeah. And I think you told me you had a different profession and eventually you decided, no, I'm going to do what I like and leave everything behind. Is that correct?
So, starting something in photography rather than travel was always in the back of my mind. And while I was in college, I started my company as a pet project more than a serious business, just to see how things go. And the year I finished college was the year COVID started. So it was quite tough to do anything. And during college, I landed a job with one of the investment banking firms from the US, but had an office in India. So worked briefly with them and then I quit and then came back to building my business. So it started off on this line, but mildly diverted and then back on track.
Yes. Okay. For me, it's, I think, my 9th time in India, like twice by myself, safari, and 7 groups that I guided. This is my 7th, I think. And India is always like, blow my mind. Also as a cultural destination, but mainly for me, for wildlife. And I've been in many other places like Africa, Patagonia, Pantanal, and actually we've been in kind of almost the same places, Costa Rica, very similar. How do you describe India compared to other places wildlife-wise?
Sure. So in India, the most unique factor that anybody would want to come here is to see the tigers. Although the distribution of tigers is across 8-10 countries in Asia, there's probably, India is probably the only country where there is organized tourism for wildlife. Of course, people are seeing Siberian tigers now and on and off Sumatran tiger and whatever, but the chances are like looking for a needle in a haystack where you could go for even 6 months without seeing a cat. But in India, the odds are way higher, where you spend 8-10 days and you have good photographic opportunities, not just looking at tigers. So tiger is like the epitome of tourism, wildlife tourism in India, and that is, I think, one of the main reasons people come here. Secondly, of course, Nepal has some places, but maybe not as close to what India is. With regards to the other wildlife, we have a lot of diversity because of the unique landscape. In India, we have the Himalayas in the north, the different coastal landscapes along the peninsular part of the country, rainforests in the west and the northeastern part, the deserts. So because of this varied landscape, we have so much of diversity that makes it call India a subcontinent. And for example, we are out of the 40 big cat species that you get in the world, we have 15 cats in India. That's almost 35-40% of the diversity of cats. And we are the only country that have 5 big cats: the Asiatic lion, leopard, snow leopard, tiger, and the clouded leopard. And we also now, the reintroduction of cheetahs have happened recently in India, although that's a reintroduction, wouldn't count it in the total cat count. In addition to that, we have a very good population of rhinos, elephants, 1,300 species of birds, numerous variations in landscapes, and then the reptiles, amphibians, and all the other species that call India its home. So this variety and diversity is what I think is a driving force for the tourism in India, and also that kind of draws people and invites them to come here and spend time. When you look at a comparison to, for example, Patagonia or Pantanal, since you mentioned, it's one species that we're looking at. But when you come to India, it's a broad spectrum that you can see and photograph.
Yes. And I also say always, when I go to places to look for wildlife and there is around interesting culture and landscape, it's a bonus. Even it's not sometimes the main goal of the trip, but it's like everywhere. Here we just go outside the lodge and it's like different world. Right. So it's very interesting. Also, I would say, the diversity here is amazing, and I always like to come and have chances to see many things. But you mentioned how you're like a subcontinent and very big. So I will mention that every park and every place here is different, with different rules, different politics, different everything. And you really need the knowledge of someone super professional like you, to make the best out of it. Right. Okay, just come to a place by yourself. I came first time by myself. I was lucky, but I went to Sariska, I told you, and the hotel was closed, the park was not so. So you need to really know where to go and how to do it. Right. Yeah, and after we'll talk about a special place we were discussing about, which is very unique. I want to ask you a few questions about a few of your beautiful pictures. I'll put your Instagram on the description so people can take a look, of course. But black leopard or black panther, I saw you have a few. I think they are different, not all of the same one. So tell us a little bit about your experience with them.
Sure. So the black leopard is, just to clarify, not a separate species, but just a pigmentation difference in the Indian leopard and also in the African leopard subspecies that happen. So it's like a degenerative gene that causes the leopard to be black because of an absence of melanin in their skin. I've seen about 6-7 different individual black leopards, including the beautiful Giza in Africa's Laikipia. But closer to home in southern India, where I am from, There is my city is in the lap of the Western Ghats, and in the Western Ghats there's a good population of black leopards in the recent times. And very recently, I photographed a family of black leopards the father was a black male, her mother was a regular leopard, and then they had 4 cubs, out of which 2 were regular and 2 were black. So that was as of 2 years ago. And before that, I've also seen a couple of other individuals in different parts of the Western Ghats. Although they are very skittish and they don't show up really except for the night time. With this particular family, was fortunate to see them once or twice in the daylight.
Wow.
And of course, Giza has changed the ball game of Black Panther and how rare and elusive it can be, because she's very visible, very used to cars, walking around, like just another leopard.
Yeah.
And people are having a good time seeing and photographing her.
Amazing. Okay. Also, I saw a picture of a very special tiger. It's called the golden tiger. Tell me a little bit about it.
Like how the Black Panther has a melanin issue and they come black, tigers tend to have a tendency to go towards the white tones. And a golden tiger is in between a normal tiger and a white tiger. So it was back in January of 2024 in northeastern India, in a park called Kaziranga National Park, where I got to see and photograph the golden tiger. So it was a sighting that happened for about 45 minutes, and the golden tiger is not being seen for the first time in the wild. It had been seen previously in Kaziranga. So the moment I saw this guy sitting on the road and looked at him through the lens and binoculars, I realized that it was not a normal tiger, because the entire underbelly and the face was completely white compared to what a normal tiger would be. And we parked at a distance, gave it its space, and then he came towards us, not towards the car, but walked on the trail towards us and then turned off. So that entire sighting gave me phenomenal opportunities to document this species. And it was very close compared to what had happened previously for other photographers. And that gave me very good and high quality images. So the golden tiger, while I was celebrating and the whole country was going crazy that this specimen was seen and photographed, it's a matter of concern, because this particular pigmentation, as per some scientists, occur because of heavy inbreeding. So inbreeding is occurring because the tiger habitats are being more and more fragmented. More than becoming small, they're getting fragmented. The corridors connecting habitats are disappearing. So populations are getting isolated. So because of inbreeding that is happening, these kind of issues are occurring with the tiger, the golden tiger's presence.
Which is not good.
It's not a very I wouldn't say a very great thing to celebrate that I photographed the golden tiger. But of course, it's rare, it's beautiful and everything. But there is a greater concern behind that sighting.
Yeah, I understand. Amazing. And another place we were talking about, which I visited like 7 years ago, and you visit there a lot, it's called Javai. And I'll let you talk about it a little bit, and then I'll give you my 2 cents on this place.
Sure. So Javai is a place in Rajasthan, in the state of Rajasthan, very much towards the west of the state. And it's a very unique landscape in terms of how the whole area is. It's completely granite hills that was formed as a result of volcanic eruptions about 850 million years ago. So in these rocky formations, there are multiple cracks, crevices, and caves that leopards have started using over time. And in the entire landscape where tourism happens, let's say about 100 kilometers in length and about 40 kilometers in width of area, there is an estimated about 30 to 40 leopards that we see on a regular basis. So the landscape is got hills continuously, but the hills are not continuous. You have like hills for a kilometer or two, then there's a gap, then there's more hills, and then it continues. So that's like a brief idea of how the landscape looks. And it comes under the princely state of Jodhpur. And when Jodhpur went through a big drought in the late 40s and early 50s, the king of Jodhpur built a dam in the Javai region, blocking the water coming on the river. And that dam was called the Jawai Dam. So Jawai is not actually the name of the location. The area gets its name from the dam, from the Jawai Dam. And there are multiple villages around the dam where these hills are, and we do our safaris for leopards. So Bera is one of the common places that everybody go to, but there are smaller, lesser known, well kept secrets, I would say, where leopards are more visible and nicer to photograph. And it's funny that leopards in various parts of the country have a very bad reputation of attacking people, domestic cattle and whatever. But in Jawai's known history of over 150 years, there has never been a single incident of a leopard attacking a person. They've of course attacked cattle, they've attacked livestock, they've killed dogs, but never touched a person, even children. So when you visit Jawai and drive through villages, you'll even see children like at dusk or dawn, playing outside the house without their parents really worrying about they being out, which is not common in other leopard landscapes. Yes. And also the local community worships the leopard as a form of god. So any retaliatory killing due to the leopards predating on cattle is not happening. So leopards are thriving and they have no disturbance from people. So that's one of the reasons why that landscape is so pristine and leopards are so visible.
Yeah. Definitely we were talking about that we have to maybe next year go there with group again. This place is very unique from what I saw when I was there. First of all, since then, 7 years ago until now, the population is growing, yes, and development, and make it even more comfortable for hosting guests. And I think the sighting is just getting better and better, right, like we saw even yesterday. And I think there's also some jungle cats and many other things around. Right. The landscape is phenomenal. Right. And another thing, there is leopards, tons of leopards in India. Correct. And even here in Ranthambore and Banvagar, we saw a leopard. Right. And I think every year someone see a leopard here and there. But when there is tigers around, the leopards are more skittish, exactly, because the tiger is the head of the chain, right, food chain, and they can actually, the tigers can kill the leopards. But absolutely, in that area, there's no tigers.
No competition.
Yeah, basically, not competition, and they are like the kings of the hills, and they just like a little bit cautious of people, but it's a long many years of living together, right, and it's a very unique place. One more thing I saw when I looked on your Instagram, which is a little bit like my Instagram, you see a lot of animals, beautiful, and here and there landscape and a little different things. So tell me a little bit about your, like, looking aside from wildlife a little bit here and there.
So I'm a foodie basically. So every time I travel somewhere and I have the opportunity, it's combined with some kind of travel where I get good food. So US is one of the places that I go whenever I get a chance. If I'm around South America or somewhere there, stop over. A lot of family in the US as well. So that is one thing. And of course, recently I was up in Lapland in Finland looking for the northern lights, because this year is apparently the solar maximum, and the lights are supposed to be one of the best years to watch the northern lights. So probably the few photos that you're looking at are, from Yellowstone and Finland and all of those areas. And of course, on the pursuit of the snow leopard, for example, when you go into Kaziranga or even Jawai, you have such fantastic landscape. And how many ever times you see it at sunrise and sunset, the skies are in such different colors that it's quite hard to not take a picture. Yes. Although I don't really shoot landscape per se, yeah, but seeing a good landscape, and I'm not the guy who could let go of it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, me too. I'm not considered a landscape photographer, but I do love sometimes a lot in the US, like you say, just to go and yes, use my filters and wide angle and right, put a tripod and enjoy, just put the camera sometimes to shoot like a time lapse or something and just enjoy. And then you get one picture, but very good, and it's also something sometimes makes me happy. Let's talk a little bit about gear. I know you should. We have to. Photographer, we like toys. Definitely. Men's, boys, we say the toys just getting more expensive. Right. We always play with toys. Big boy toys. Yeah. So I know now you shoot with Nikon, and you also associated associated with them. So tell me a little bit about your journey with gear and what do you like about your gear that you're using now and the crazy technologies that are going on now with the gear.
Right. So initially I started with the Kodak film camera when I was 3-4 years old, and then it was Nikon, and then there was no looking back. So it's been about 17-18 years now using Nikon cameras. Started from the very basic film cameras, and then the top end film cameras, and then the digital SLRs, and then moved to the mirrorless cameras these days. So currently I am using the Nikon Z9 and also the Z8. And my primary lens is the 400mm f2.8 TC lens, and then I have a secondary 70-200. So for India, I think where I predominantly do most of my shooting, in a place like Ranthambore or Bandhavgarh, a range between a 300 and 400 is pretty ideal for most scenarios. But in sometimes a 600 would be very handy as well. But considering these factors, I think the 400 TC lens was like a big, problem solver, because with one lens I could do all my jobs. It serves as both one flick of the switch, and then it becomes a 560. And of course, the 70-200 is definitely a must-have range when you're here. With regards to how technology has advanced, from back then using a light meter to measure light, manually setting the aperture and the shutter speed, to now having the cameras do all that for you, you're able to focus on other aspects like focusing on action, shooting behavior at the right time, and not spend time setting up the camera at that point. And the autofocus is also a game changer. 5 years back or 10 years back, shooting a tiger hunting or tiger chasing was a very hard task, because the autofocus system was not so advanced. And today with the eye autofocus and the various other features, subject detection and whatever else that they have packed in, these kind of action sequences have become a lot easier to photograph.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, that's amazing. And you are actually a Nikon ambassador of India?
Yeah, so I'm a Nikon influencer, brand influencer, and then it's been about a year now that they've got me under their program. And so I'm predominantly also running workshops for Nikon in India, classroom workshops as well as outdoor workshops that are 1 or 2 days long. And one thing that I forgot to mention is the crazy low light performance that these cameras have developed over period, which is very crucial, particularly in places like Javai, because you do not have specific times and you can stay out late into evening and go early in the morning. So when you see leopards and other wildlife having performances, high low ISO, low light performance is very critical, and cameras that can perform in high ISO and also have good autofocus is a crucial thing in those circumstances.
It's amazing, actually. Even, of course, we love open apertures, and we always try to aim for the best if we can afford it. But actually, the sensor getting more capable of high ISO and also softwares like Topaz and DxO and stuff, it's actually give even people with lower budget to buy like cheaper lenses with closer aperture and still have very good performance.
Absolutely.
One of our passengers have the Canon 200 to 800. It's f.9, I think, F9. In the end. It's actually 9 in the end, but for 500 it gives you 8. Something like 8 or maybe 7.1. And it's 800 millimeters in a very affordable price. Right. There is a little, price to pay, but it's still doing very good job. I'll ask you some question I ask every one of my guests. So first of all, what's your favorite photograph? Like one you have to put on your living room or be proud when you're dead on your,
It's a really hard question to choose. Probably, as most of you might have seen or heard of Ranthambore, there are a lot of ruins inside the park. So right in the middle of the Zone 3 in Ranthambore, there is a hunting palace that was used about 1,000 years ago by the kings who used to stay there during their hunting expeditions. And today it's abandoned and tigers have started moving in. So there is 3 windows that's facing the lake. And back in May, after almost spending 500 days in the park, more than 500 days, a tiger peeped out for 10 seconds, Though there was no real skill involved or photography technique involved, it was the sheer wait for that event to happen. It was more like a dream come true moment rather than the skill and technique that was involved in shooting that particular image. Yeah.
So that's the one.
Of course.
Great. Actually, we've been there, and we were hoping he will pop in one of these beautiful buildings. I think I saw something which was always almost a dream shot for me when Ridi, one of the mother of the cubs, were going through the entrance to get to zone 3, which is also a beautiful
Gate.
Yeah, I was in the wrong side of but it was still a pretty good shot. We talked about your next journeys, and you told me you're going to Falkland Islands soon. What is your place you really in your list, top list that you want to go, or a project you really want to focus on and do?
So South Georgia is one place and Kamchatka is another. With the war going on right now, Kamchatka is a little out of reach, but South Georgia sometime very soon is on my cards. So at least doing Falklands now, almost there but not yet. So maybe in the future, South Georgia is something that's on my cards. Wow. And Congo Basin is probably the third place that I want to go to see the bonobos, because I've seen the gorillas, chimps, and orangutans. So the 4th of our cousins are still pending to be seen. Yeah. So Congo is one place, Mbale and Doki, and those regions in Democratic Republic of Congo is waiting to be visited, but with the civil war, that also needs to be on hold for now.
Yeah, actually, one of our passengers, Itamar, just told me he's going after here to Vietnam to photograph also a very special monkey. Okay. Like a red one, I don't remember the name, but I saw some picture and it's wow. Right. I love monkeys. Even today we shot some beautiful langurs and makok, but grooming and with the little babies. Right. I love it. What is the best tip you got or you can give for wildlife photography?
It's easy to preach, difficult to practice. Even I today, when I see a tiger, I kind of lose my mind, even after
I get you.
After spending 20 years of my life photographing and watching tigers. Even today, when I see a tiger, the first 5 minutes, I have no idea what I'm doing. So I think the best thing is, certain moments like the golden tiger, for example, may not repeat again in your life, but a tiger in Bandhavgarh or Ranthambore walking on the road or sitting by the road can happen. If you spend another 10 days, it will repeat itself. But there are some moments that may not. So if you're going to be in the wild, keep your mind calm and think for 5 seconds before you pick up the camera on what you have to do. And there's one thing that no amount of post-processing can correct, and that is composition. You messed up your composition, you cut off the tail, you cut off the leg, you cut off some part of the animal or some part of the landscape, you're not going to be able to recover it. So I think the main thing is be a little calm when you see a subject. Spend 5-10 seconds to think how best you can photograph it, dial in the right settings, and then go for it. Yeah. So then you're not regretting later once you come back that you missed something. Yeah. Easier to preach, very hard to practice. Yes. I should also get myself to practice this, but it sometimes doesn't happen.
Yeah. It's like getting your friend advice on relationship and then you're doing the wrong things on yourself. Same shit. But yeah, I'll say something also about that. If you see a tiger, for example, okay, pick up the camera, get the shot. But if the thing give you some time, like it's not like a one shot, it gives you a few minutes of performance. So look at your images a little bit, not waste too much time. Just see that everything is correct. You don't mess up the parameter. You don't cut the tails or cut the leg or something, and then think for a second and then get the next shot. That's right. To make it even better. Another question? What is your most scaring thing that happened to you while taking picture or leading a group or something?
which is so basically one thing is that the most common question I get asked by people is, didn't the tiger attack you or something like that? It has never happened in the wild while on a jeep safari or with a group that we were in a dangerous situation. But back in 2011, there was a king cobra that was rescued in a village, and they urgently required an air-conditioned vehicle to transport it to the forest because it was in summer and the king cobra wouldn't really take that much of heat, and it's also stressed. So that snake made an escape in the car.
Oh my God.
So, well, it wasn't actually a photographic expedition, but from the bag they were carrying it made an escape. I was not in the car. We were parked at a place, and the guy who caught the snake was a little complacent, and it got out. But then, we shut the door immediately and then got the situation under control. But the whole process of catching the snake again from inside the car was the task.
Scary. Oh, amazing. Yeah, a lot of people ask me, we see how they go with the open jeeps and the tigers just go past. And and also we're walking, you and me, not together, but with pumas in Patagonia, which are coming really close to you, and there's still a cat, a predator. And in Uganda, you see the gorillas like, and it never get me scared because you feel if animal is threatened and it shows, but I always felt safe. I do afraid of one specific kind of dog that beat me once, like I don't know the German Shepherd, I think.
Right.
So if I see that, I'm scared.
Right.
Yeah, and even if it's friendly, I don't care because that's in my mind, and I don't care about tigers and stuff. I would say one more thing before we finish. We have a very good common friend, Ravindra, who is the owner of the amazing Regency Hotel that we stay in Ranthambore. And he came with me to one of the safaris, and he told me something that makes me think about India wildlife. He went to Kenya, and he also said, okay, you missed a hunt of a cheetah. You come tomorrow, you have another hunt of a cheetah. If you miss a lion mating, you'll come tomorrow. They will still gonna mate. Right. So it's like it's a little bit easy.
Correct.
And with tigers and in India, it's more elusive.
Right.
You saw the cubs playing like in the open. Oh my God, they missed it. I don't know. I need to like perform and do better to have it to achieve that again. So that's actually make everything here more special, like a challenge.
Absolutely.
And more like an adventure.
Right.
And not too easy.
That's
I mean, Africa is amazing, but sometimes it's a little too easy.
True.
in for big cats and stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Like leopard on a tree. Okay, not today, you'll have one tomorrow. Yeah.
Right.
Something true. Like that. Anything else you want to say before we wrap it up?
So just that, when people come to India on a wildlife trip, the main perception or I would say a misconception that they have is that they talk to too many people who've been to India and have a very mixed opinion. Some people whose friends have seen a lot of tigers tell them, oh, it's very easy. You'll see tiger every day. And there's a bunch of people who don't want to plan a trip to India because a few of them did not see. So there is a little bit of research that you need to do as to which season the people who traveled saw so many, and which season the people who traveled didn't see any, and what kind of, because in India our parks are smaller, they're not as large as the Masai Mara or the Serengeti. So to control tourism, the government has introduced a zone system to bifurcate the park into multiple routes and zones, so the traffic is divided inside. So there's no crowding around one tiger or around one sighting. That said, your permits are all booked in advance into specific zones. And if you don't have the right zoning, you might not have the right zoning across every safari, but even if few of the safaris, if you don't, that could be a reason. So don't hold that as a reason to not come to India. What I would suggest is get to a good local partner or a good international partner who could facilitate the trip, which is the most important factor in planning India. And then if things don't go as planned, then of course there is the element of luck also. But what is under our control, we do it properly. I think that's what I would like to tell everybody who's thinking of coming to India.
That's true. You need to like get your chances higher, so be in the right place and right time with the right guides. Right. Hensraj, one of our guides, I was amazed by his eyes. I mean, I know him for many years. Sipora. he knows a little bit Hebrew from all the Israeli groups that he was guiding with us. We were driving just one of the trails, and there was a little hole in a tree, which usually you see maybe owls and stuff. And he said, wait, I think I see a lizard. The lizard is that small. Right. And just the head was outside. And he said, look in your camera. And I was like, oh my God, it was like the lizard. And he also found a leopard like that from kilometer away. Right. Like really, only we saw a sambar deer with a little alert, not even a call. And he was looking at leopard. Right. So having the right guide is super important. I cannot mention that enough. Right. So amazing, yeah. So thank you very much. Wow, it was a pleasure, and we are still going to have a few more safaris. And I'm already miss India.
Most welcome to come back anytime.
Yeah, soon. So thank you very much. Let's get prepared for another safari.
Sure, let's go.
Thank you. Perfect. אני ממליץ למי שרוצה להתנסות בציוד חדש, והוא לא סגור עליו אם זה מה שהוא רוצה, ללכת להזכיר אותו ליום אחד, להתנסות. התחלנו שיתוף פעולה עם לנס פורנט של הזכרת עדשות. יש להם המון ציוד להזכרה, אתם יכולים לראות פה באתר, ואני אשאיר לכם קישור בדסקריפשן של הפודקאסט, ומי שמגיע דרך הפודקאסט ואומר שהוא דרך הפודקאסט מקבל 10% הנחה על כל ההזכרות, אז זה יכול להיות מאוד מעניין. אז אני ממליץ באמת לעשות ניסוי כמו ה-5D מרק 2, סליחה R5 מרק 2, מי שרוצה לנסות אותה לפני שהוא מתחייב לקנייה, אפשר להזכיר אותה בכמה מאות שקלים ליום צילום, ואחר כך להחליט אם זה מתאים לו או לא. אותו דבר לגבי רכישה של ציוד, מי שלא עוסק מורשה ולא מתקזז על מע"מ וקונה באמת בסכומים גדולים, אז הרבה חבר'ה יורדים לאילת לקנות ציוד, וגם שם מי שמעוניין לקנות, יש לנו שיתוף פעולה עם קאמרה טו פיק, אז אתם יכולים לפנות אליי או לפנות אליהם לשיר, להגיד שהגעתם דרך הפודקאסט ולקבל הצעת מחיר אטרקטיבית. אם אתם רוצים עזרה בזה, אתם יכולים גם לפנות אליי ואני אבדוק לכם מחירים. אני תמיד קונה ציוד בארץ, באילת, המחירים יותר זולים מארצות הברית, בטח עם שער הדולר הגבוה. ומי שמתקזז על מע"מ זה סיפור אחר, אבל מי שלא מתקזז על מע"מ ולא קנייה של 1,000-2,000 שקל שלא שווה לרדת בשביל זה, אבל סכומים גדולים כבר שווה לרדת במיוחד, ובטח אם אתם קופצים לאילת על הדרך.